Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a book that has genuinely changed the game for so many people, Atomic Habits by James Clear. We're going to unpack the core ideas and see why it's had such a massive impact. All right, let's start with a question we've all asked ourselves. You get this huge burst of motivation, right? You're going to learn a language, you're going to hit the gym, you're going to eat healthy. You're on fire for a week, maybe two, and then, poof, it's gone. You're right back where you started. So, what is going on? Why is it so incredibly hard to make good habits actually stick?
Well, it turns out we're looking at the whole idea of progress completely wrong. We think it's supposed to be this nice straight line going up and to the right, but in reality, the most meaningful results are invisible for a long, long time. And this gap right here, between what we expect to happen and what actually happens, that's what Clear calls the valley of disappointment. It's that brutal phase where you feel like you're putting in all this work for nothing. And, it's exactly where most of us give up, usually right before the big breakthrough is about to happen. So if these giant heroic efforts don't really work, what's the secret? This is the heart and soul of Atomic Habits. The idea is to completely forget about your big, ambitious goals for a minute, and instead to focus on a system of tiny, almost unnoticeable improvements. We're talking about just getting 1% better each and every day.
And here is where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. 1% better. That sounds like nothing, right? Barely worth doing. But just look at the math. If you get just 1% better every single day for 1 year, you don't end up 365% better. No, the math of compounding is way more powerful than that. You end up nearly 38 times better. That's the incredible, explosive power of tiny gains, and it's the engine that drives this whole system.
I love this quote. It actually hangs in the locker room of the San Antonio Spurs, and it just says it all, doesn't it? Success isn't about that one final, dramatic moment. It's about all those little, consistent taps that came before. It's a powerful reminder that real, lasting progress is a slow, steady, and often thankless grind.
And if you want a real-world example, just look at the British cycling team. For about 100 years, they were, frankly, a joke in the cycling world. Then a new director came in with this wild idea called the aggregation of marginal gains. They became completely obsessed with improving every single tiny detail by just 1%. And I mean everything, from the ergonomics of the bike seats to the kind of massage gel the athletes used. They even hired a surgeon to teach them the right way to wash their hands to avoid getting sick. The result? They went from mediocrity to absolutely dominating the sport for a decade. It's just a stunning example of what small gains can do when they all add up.
Okay, so this brings us to a really, really important shift in how we think about this stuff. We tend to believe that building good habits is all about having superhuman willpower, right? But what if that's not it at all? What if it's less about your internal grit and more about the world you build around yourself? That is the next big idea: designing your environment for success.
We're always told to just try harder or find your motivation. We think if we can just summon up enough willpower, we can force ourselves to change our behavior.
But here's the thing. There's a much smarter and, frankly, easier way to play this game. Instead of constantly fighting a battle against your own impulses, why not just make the good habits the easy, default choice? The real secret is designing your surroundings so that the path of least resistance leads you exactly where you want to go.
Check out this perfect, simple example. A hospital wanted to encourage people to drink more water. Now, they didn't put up a bunch of posters or launch a big Drink More Water campaign. All they did was add water bottles to every single beverage station in the cafeteria. And the result? Water sales shot up by almost 26%. They didn't change anyone's motivation. They just changed the environment.
And here's another great technique for this. It's called temptation bundling. It's so simple. You just pair something you need to do with something you really want to do. So, for example, you only allow yourself to watch your favorite guilty pleasure show while you're on the exercise bike. See what you're doing? You're making the habit you're trying to build way more attractive. It's a really clever way to trick your brain and use your own desires to your advantage.
This leads us right into another fundamental truth about being human. We are fundamentally wired to be lazy. Our brains are literally designed to conserve energy whenever possible. And this means we will almost always gravitate towards the easiest option available. But instead of seeing this as a flaw, we can actually use it to our benefit.
Okay, check out this amazing experiment from a photography class. A professor split his students into two groups. He told the first group they would be graded purely on quantity. The more photos they turned in, the better their grade. 100 photos got you an A. The other group, though, was graded on quality. They only had to submit one single photo all semester, but it had to be nearly perfect.
So, at the end of the semester, who do you think produced the best photographs? You might be surprised. It was the quantity group, and it wasn't even close. While the quality group was stuck theorizing and planning and trying to create the one perfect shot, the quantity group was just out there shooting, experimenting, making mistakes, and learning from them. They proved that the fastest way to get good at something is to stop planning and just start doing. Get your reps in.
So if action is key, how do we make ourselves want to take action? Well, we need to feel a sense of progress, and we need to feel it right away. This is where a brilliantly simple trick called the paperclip strategy comes in. A young stockbroker would start his day with 2 jars. One was filled with 120 paper clips, and every single time he made a sales call, he'd move one clip over to the empty jar. It gave him this immediate, visual proof of his effort, which made the whole process incredibly satisfying and kept him motivated to keep going.
And now we get to what I think is the most profound and powerful idea in the entire book. It's a fundamental shift in perspective that really changes everything. What if the real goal of building habits isn't just about what you get or what you achieve, but about who you become?
So instead of saying, my goal is to read a book, the shift is to say, I want to become a reader. Instead of I want to run a marathon, it's I want to become a runner. You see the difference? The focus moves away from the one-time outcome and onto the kind of person you want to be. And when you do that, the outcomes almost start to take care of themselves.
There's this great story about a man who had chewed his nails for his entire life. He tried everything, all the willpower in the world, and nothing worked. Then he tried something totally different. He went and got his first professional manicure. And for the first time ever, he actually felt proud of how his hands looked. In that moment, his identity began to shift. He was no longer a nail biter, he was someone who takes pride in his hands. And just like that, the bad habit vanished, because it just didn't align with who he was anymore.
And that's really the bottom line here. Your habits are how you embody your identity. Every single action you take is like casting a vote for the type of person you want to be. Meditate for 2 minutes? That's a vote for being a calm person. Put on your running shoes and go for a walk? That's a vote for being an active person. Over time, these little votes add up and they literally change the very beliefs you have about yourself.
But there's a really important thing to remember here. This isn't about creating some rigid, unchangeable identity that you have to stick to forever. As Lao Tzu wisely said, the hard and stiff will be broken, the soft and supple will prevail. True mastery isn't about being inflexible. It's about being able to adapt, to evolve, and to hold our identities just loosely enough that we have room to grow into the next better version of ourselves.
So after all this, what's the big takeaway from Atomic Habits? It's that real, lasting change doesn't come from massive one-time transformations. It comes from tiny, consistent actions that reinforce the person you want to be. It's about designing a life where the right choices are the easy choices. And most of all, it's about focusing on your identity, not just your goals. So I'll leave you with this question. What's the one small vote you can cast today for the person you truly want to become?